Hey everyone, this is Pocket Moggers. How you doing today? Hope everything's been going well for you. This video right here is titled 10 Fighting Games Everyone Should Play. I'm not expecting anybody here to have tried any of these titles, but if you have and you enjoyed them, leave a comment below. Tell me about your history with them. I'd love to hear it. And if you enjoyed this and would like to see more about fighting games, leave a like and subscribe. It'd really help me out. With that being said, let's take a look at this list, shall we? My number 10 choice is Def Jam Fight for New York. Wrestling games, just like the game in the next slide or the genre in the next slide, I don't normally consider them fighting games, right? They have their own mechanics with their own win things and stuff, you know. I separate them into their own genre, but this is about fighting games, games where people fight, right? And outside of beat 'em ups. So I'm going to include this in here as well as like I mentioned in the next slide, another game from what I consider to be a separate genre, but what most people would probably consider a fighting game. Um, this game is incredible. The atmosphere in this game is fantastic. The brutal yet almost slapstick fighting is really, really, really good. You get a lot of chuckles, and sometimes you even get winces like, "Ooh, wow, that just looks incredibly painful." Impressive in terms of scope, voice cast, maybe not necessarily the best in terms of acting, but definitely impressive in terms of the scope of who they got. Most of the people in the game who are playable characters are voiced by the rapper or hip hop artist that they are representing. I didn't mention this, and I probably should have, but I figured Def Jam kind of hinted people into this. This is a game about the record label Def Jam and people involved in the Def Jam record label. So any of your favorite Def Jam artists that you can think of, they're probably in here, and they're probably, or at least from the early 2000s, because this was like a GameCube game, are probably in here, and they're probably fighting people and just having a good time. But everything about this, it doesn't feel like it should work, right? It's corny, it's hokey, it's silly. The gameplay makes things a little comical sometimes. The acting can be over the top, right? But all of that just adds to the charm of this game. I challenge you to find any game besides Def Jam where Sean Paul is using capoeira to fight people. I don't think you'll find it. Right? So just check out Def Jam, especially if you're a fan of music and a fan of hip hop and rap and things like that, and you just want to kind of beat the crap out of your friends in one of those kinds of games, you know, beat people up playing as one of your favorite artists in the early 2000s. This is your game. And even if you don't want to do that, if you just like wrestling and you want something a little, I don't know, fun, you know, I'm not saying wrestling games aren't fun, but I mean fun in tone, right? To try out. You know, this is a good one to check out. I won't call it like, oh, a Happy New York adventure, right? It's not anything like that. But for a rated M for mature game, you're gonna get a lot more laughs out of this than you are any sort of like fear or dread or terror or anything like that. Even at the time, it didn't work that way. It was just kind of goofy. So check this one out. You will have fun. The gameplay is really solid. Once you get the hang of it, you might find yourself more into wrestling titles. And if that's the case, there are so many to check out, and I recommend that you do. If you don't find yourself into that, the good thing is this list is full of so many other fighting games that are not like Def Jam, and maybe you'll find yourself drawn to one of those instead. Let's keep going, shall we? So number 9 is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I'm not in the habit of grouping platform fighters in with other fighters. I consider them separate genres, but they are fighting games, and this is a fighting game video, so I am going to include it. Just about anybody that you can think of from video games is in here. There are plenty that aren't, but there are so many that are that it's absolutely insane, and not just from Nintendo, from third parties all over the place. Speaking of fighting games, this is the only game on this list where Kazuya, Ryu, Terry Bogard, and Akira from Virtua Fighter are all just in the game, just doing stuff, right? Akira's an assist trophy, and the other three are playable characters. Oh, Ken's there too, right? So on top of just being a fun and engaging game with a whole bunch of characters and a whole bunch of multiplayer modes and some single player stuff to do, not as much compared to older games. I do wish trophies were back in this game. They kind of made a mistake with that one. I don't think the spirits were a compelling substitute in any way, shape, or form. Um, but there's still stuff to do in this game. You got 100 levels on top of 83, 84, 85 characters, right? Some of the best music in gaming, period. Incredible remixes of some of those titles. I do wish Kingdom Hearts had a little more in here. I'd love to hear the Nintendo and Sega and Capcom people and stuff remake Kingdom Hearts songs. But this game is just something special. There will never be another fighting game like this one. It brought the internet together. Steve being announced for this game literally shut Twitter down at one point, right? I think Sephiroth did something similar too. So this is just something special. This will first introduce you to the platform fighting genre, two, introduce you to all of these characters, and three, hopefully get you a little more invested in fighting mechanics as well. So if you somehow haven't played Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, check it out. You're gonna have a fantastic time. So Capcom versus SNK2, Mark of the Millennium, 2001 is my number 8 choice. It was hard to pick an SNK game. I actually do like a lot of SNK titles, but when they go toe to toe with some of the others mentioned on this list, I I don't hold them in the same regard. Right. So unfortunately for SNK, I had to pick one that was with another company. I picked one of the versus titles, Capcom versus SNK 2. Just has a lot of great stuff going for it. Just like all of the SNK games. Before I go anywhere, Samurai Showdown, Art of Fighting, Fatal Fury, King of Fighters, they're all fantastic. I'm not trying to knock them. I just don't like them as much as the other titles that I brought up here. If I were to do a straight 2D fighting, put them on a list kind of tier, one of those would be in here. But since I have to encapsulate more of the fighting genre than just straight 2D fighters, the reality is that SNK just doesn't have the sauce comparatively, in my opinion. So with SNK versus Capcom 2, what I love about it is it's just like with another title that we'll see later. There are multiple play styles for all of your characters. Some of them are very confusing, especially when you first start, but you'll get the hang of them as they go on. 48 characters is a great roster too. There's just fantastic sprite work and animation work in this game. The music is top notch. Unrelated to anything going on in my life, every once in a while I'll just be singing the London song, the "This is true love I'm making," right? It just gets stuck in my head. So this game is fantastic. Versus games are always fun to try out. I definitely recommend you give this one a shot, especially if you're a little, I don't know, if you haven't tried SNK before and you want to just give it a shot and maybe something a little more comfortable around, like your old pals at Capcom helping you out. This is a great way to get involved and then to dive deeper into SNK stuff, which you absolutely should. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. There was a time back in the early 2000s when I would have told you this is the worst game ever made, and that it sucks and Capcom sucks and everything's awful, and I can't believe that they did this. As a young person, a good game was very much about aesthetics to me. And while I vibed with the overall feel of Street Fighter 3 and the sprite work and the environments, the characters just absolutely gutted me. I had played Street Fighter 2 and I had played the alpha titles, and I was just so used to your regular run of the mill cast that when I saw these people I was like, what? Well, I know Akuma, I know Chun-Li, I know Ryu, I know Ken, but who's a Yang? What's a Sean? And definitely what's a Q, right? And it just, it didn't resonate well with me. There's another game that we're going to talk about later that did this fresh coat of paint approach around the same time to a much better degree, and it's about how they handled it that I think led them to success versus Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, where they just kind of went in buck wild, right? Like, most of these characters aren't connected to anybody from any of the earlier games. They are all very unique looking. That is not a negative anymore. It was when I was a kid, but nowadays I think it's great. I love the designs for some of these characters. They were called Freaks when I was a kid. I love the Freaks now. Oro is fantastic. There are just so many here. It was personally, I even as a young person, I was like, don't call Alex and Dudley freaks. Right? Well, maybe Alex now, right, with all the cousin stuff, but definitely not Dudley. Don't call Dudley a freak. But yeah, I still think to this day what makes Third Strike so fun is it's incredibly technical, surprisingly so, for a 2D fighting game like this. Which is already technical in and of itself, but even more so, right? The music in this game, this is the best Street Fighter soundtrack. It's just phenomenal, stellar, just amazing. Um, the characters in here are fun to use on top of having unique powers and abilities and stuff. I do have to say that my personal best is Hugo, so I'm a little vanilla compared to some of the other freaks in the game, just a big guy who grabs stuff, right? But the characters here are really cool, and they play in ways that haven't really been replicated by other games since. So I do really recommend trying Third Strike, but maybe with an asterisk and saying if you're not familiar with Street Fighter in any way, if you want to get a general vibe for Street Fighter, play Street Fighter 2 instead. But if you have a history with it, even a baseline of stuff with Street Fighter, and you want to expand your horizons and try a new one, maybe one a little more difficult with some more in-depth mechanics and stuff, this is it, absolutely. Street Fighter 6 is really good too, but I just think 3 is a little more put together. I don't know. I don't know how to put it. But yeah, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is number 7. 6 is Killer Instinct 2013. Uh, it's just really, I mean, one of the most stellar fighting games ever made. Um, Everything is so fluid in Killer Instinct. That would be the word that I would use for Killer Instinct compared to all of the other games. Some things just kind of click in ways that they don't for other fighting games in KI 2013. So much is just, I don't really know how to explain it, but it all just kind of feels right. It's one of those games where you just kind of get the vibe for it, and you can just get going on it. There's some fun single player stuff to do in this game too, but not not the most. But some of the shadow stuff is fun to do, I would say. Um, the roster is good, except Eagle. He's boy, fighting some of those Eagle players can be really fun. Not really, but yeah, really at the same time. The sound design is fantastic. I love the soundtrack for this game. The matches are fast. I think that's great too. I like the update that they did to KI recently. Well, relatively recently. I think it was last year, maybe the year before. They patched a bunch of stuff up and just kind of gave it a little bit of a facelift, and I think it's great. You should definitely check this one out. If you're going to check any Killer Instinct title out, this is the one to do, in my opinion, because not only does it just have a solid foundation to go on, but there are many, well, not many, but a couple guest characters in there too from other games, like the Arbiter from Halo and the Battletoads, that will keep your interest up even if you don't know much about Killer Instinct. So this is the one I would recommend trying. So Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is another versus game, like Capcom vs. SNK on this list, but it's a versus Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom game, not a versus SNK game. So I'm okay with doubling up on it since the core mechanics are different and the rosters are completely different, and it's just a different beast all around. So yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, unfortunately, well, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 had the unfortunate, what's the word I'm looking for? The unfortunate timing of being released far too early compared to other special editions from other Capcom games. I think it came out like 6 months after Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out, and people were just like, well, what the heck? What do I need to get this for? I already have Marvel vs. Capcom 3, or I've got other games that I want to buy. You just gave me Marvel vs. Capcom 3, right? So initially, its sales were poor. It recovered tremendously so later on, right? Because word of mouth got out and people enjoyed it. This was done by Aiding, which is a company I brought up in my Shonen Jump game video. They are a fantastic company. They make some of the best fighting games out there, and UMVC3 is one of those. Um, Gosh, well, single player content is a little lackluster here, but that doesn't matter too terribly much. I mean, it's not great. You want to have a little more to do than just arcade mode, right? But it doesn't matter too terribly much here, since so much of the combat is so dynamic and fast paced and fun. Some of the characters are absurdly broken, Virgil, and just being able to just wipe a whole team out, it really is something special. There aren't many fighting games that let you have fun in the way that you can with UMVC3, in my opinion. And it's a highlight for the franchise. I do think that the second game has a better overall roster, right? More stuff represented and things like that. But I think this game does better for Marvel because it tones down the X-Men a little bit, and I think this game is way better for Capcom. I don't even think it's close, really, on the Capcom side comparing 2 to 3. But yeah, if you're looking for more characters and more teams to make, then yeah, you're going to want the second one. And the second one is so universally regarded. I'm not here to poo-poo it. It's a fantastic game in and of itself. I do think that there are some, I don't know, some glitches and bugs and stuff in that game that can make it a little frustrating to play sometimes when compared to this one, but this one has its own too. Nova can just stop matches from happening, right? So it works. Both games have their flaws. I just recommend trying a Marvel vs. Capcom game. This is the one that I would recommend the most. But if you want to try the second one, by all means, go ahead. I wouldn't recommend Infinite, but I would recommend the first one too. The first one is a fun 2-on-2 tag fighter. In some ways, I actually like the first one better than the second one. But yeah, just try the franchise. If you're gonna go with this list, I would say try UMVC 3, but definitely try the versus Capcom series overall. Oh boy. So number 4 is Mortal Kombat X, and Mortal Kombat X has the distinction of being the best Mortal Kombat game by like a country mile. For those of you who don't understand the idiom, it means that by a lot. Mortal Kombat X has everything that you're looking for. It's got a story mode, it's got engaging post-game single-player content, it's got good, at least for the time, online play, it's got a whole bunch of unlockables, be it costumes, be it levels, be it concept art, be it, just so much stuff in the vault that you can get. The roster is solid too. Huge roster for a fighting game, for another Realm fighting game too. And the guest characters are phenomenal. I mean, you get the Xenomorph, you get the Predator, you get Michael Myers. Like, what else? Oh, no, not Michael Myers. You get Jason Voorhees. What else can you ask for? Like, it simply is the best Mortal Kombat has to offer, especially since each character has 3 unique playstyles that they can use. I'm not going to go so far as to say that so you're technically have 3 characters in one. Not really. They still have, excuse me, some fundamental similarities, but you definitely have, like, how about let's say 3 clone characters in one, like melee clones, right? Where they have moves that have different properties or different attacks, but their playstyle overall is still pretty similar, right? But gosh, Mortal Kombat 10 is just fantastic. There's so much to do. You get just like with our number 3 title that I'm going to bring up after this, you get a nice little fresh coat of paint with the Combat Kids, new generation of heroes to come in and do stuff. I do think Shinnok was a bit of a waste from a story perspective. He didn't really add much of anything. I think maybe another game to let Shinnok come back could have built up the scales a little more, made Shinnok a little more of a threat, you know what I mean? But it's fine, it really is, especially with everything that you do have here. Mortal Kombat 10 is the best that NetherRealm Gaming has ever made and probably ever will make. So if you're looking for the definitive Mortal Kombat experience, personally, Mortal Kombat X is that game. All right, number 3 slot is a third entry in its franchise. It's Tekken 3. Tekken 3 is a huge game for a lot of fighting game fans. It ain't hard to see why at all. It's incredibly dense for a PlayStation 1 title. The stuff that they threw in from the arcade was good, don't get me wrong, but they added so much more. They added a Tekken Force mode that lets you just beat up people as your favorite characters. They added a volleyball mode where you can unlock a new character. There's just crazy amount of stuff that you can do in Tekken 3, especially for a PlayStation 1 fighting game. This game also gave the Tekken franchise a huge fresh coat of paint. Kazuya Mishima, who is now, I guess, kind of sort of the main villain of Tekken, was just not as compelling as the protagonist. And they really needed to shift over to somebody else. The devil mechanic was a fun idea for gameplay aesthetics, but just having a character who's just the devil, can do devil stuff is, I don't know. It's boring when they're just in control of it and everything. Jin Kazama, Kazuya's son and the new protagonist, not having control of it and being hunted by his family and dealing with the curse is a way more engaging narrative that propelled the franchise in a positive direction. Having so many legacy characters like students of XYZ or brother of XYZ, or you know what I mean, come in and pad out the roster with fresh new looks but similar gameplay mechanics and stuff was a genius idea. Some of Tekken's best characters come from this game. Actually, they're featured on this poster with Jin, like Harang and Eddie Gordo and Xiao Yu. They're all great. Xiao Yu, I think, could use a little more compared to the other 3 that I've mentioned here, but she is still good. Everything about Tekken 3 was a smart idea, and it gave them a massive W. And the new score that they put in the PlayStation 1 version was better than the arcade too. So when you put everything together, Tekken 3 was one of those rare games where the arcade version couldn't compete with the console version. And that probably struck a chord with a lot of people too. This game is just phenomenal. I can't recommend it enough. Please check it out. Having said that, I did struggle a little bit because I like Tekken 5 more, and Tekken 5 has a lot of engaging, interesting, and fun single-player content. The Devil Within mode is, but everything else is pretty fun, especially since you can play all of the old Tekken titles in it too. I picked Tekken 3 because Tekken 3 had a bigger cultural movement behind it. More people are familiar with it. It's a little easier to just get started and pick up. So I picked Tekken 3, but I will say Tekken 3 and Tekken 5 are kind of equal in my eyes. Maybe Tekken 5 is even a little better. So if you want to try Tekken 5, I say go for it because it's fantastic as well. So, Dragon Ball FighterZ is the best anime adaptation in a game ever. period, hands down. I have never seen another game handle anime adaptation as masterfully as this game does, with as much reverence, but also as much attention to detail and as much fun as this game makes it. Dragon Ball Fighters is not an exact one-to-one replica of the anime. I'm sure you've all seen shots from Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball, and especially Dragon Ball Super that look like hot diarrhea dookie. But Fighters is what the shows look like in your head when you picture the shows. You know what I mean? It's just fantastic. The art direction is doing so much work here. Not that the core gameplay isn't either, because it's incredibly fun too. But just all of the ways that they set up all the different dramatic finishes to emulate the anime. Some of the unique ones, like the Gogeta one and Yamcha killing Nappa, are fantastic too. There's a really fun and engaging story mode where you get to learn about a new character and get into a new story mode that reunites a bunch of favorite heroes and villains together and stuff. You get to learn a little more about them. I think if Arc System Works were to do another anime fighting game, everybody wants them to make another One Piece game after Great Pirate Coliseum. I second that. That would be phenomenal. But if they do that, I really hope they take what they learned from Fighters and use that, because a fighter style One Piece game would just be crazy. I would love to see it. Until that hypothetical game exists, though, this is the best anime adaptation ever. The roster's incredibly stacked. I would like a little less Gokus and a little less Vegetas overall in my game, but I understand why all of the versions of the characters exist. I just kind of wish that, or like they were incorporated into one character in some way. I don't know, something along those lines. My only gripe with this one is there's a little too little in the way of single player content. I wish they did a little more. But, with everything as solid as it is, that's really not too big of a deal. The only thing I have to say, if you are playing this, is ready your wallet, especially if you want the DLC, because my gosh, there is a lot to grab. Having said that, though, you'll never play another tag fighter like Fighters, and you'll always remember Fighters when you're playing other tag fighters. Okay? So if any of what I've said sounds good to you, check it out. You're going to have a fantastic time. I promise. Okay, so this is my number one. It's Virtua Fighter 2. Virtua Fighter 2 is a Sega title. It was out in the arcades first, then it came out for the Saturn. A port of it with some changes was released later for the Saturn, called Virtua Fighter Kids, where it's the exact same game, but they're all kids in little chibi styles. And both are just fantastic, stellar games. This game is lacking some of the things that I docked points from other games for. Like it doesn't have single player content. The roster is pretty small. Everything about it is severely outdated. So in other ratings for other games, I would have been a little more critical of those things. But the reality is, Virtua Fighter in general, but in particular this one, to me, is just so fluid, so solid, so compact, so well made that that stuff doesn't bother me as much. Virtua Fighter 2 just basically showed up and told everybody how to make 3D fighting games, and everybody else has been emulating since that point. I am so excited for this Virtua Fighter Crossroads. I hope that it gives us some new ways to play Virtua Fighter and some new reasons for fans to get involved and want to see more. Because until this new vibe has set in and these interpretations of these characters have been discussed, this will forever be my version of all of these characters. The Virtua Fighter 2 version y'all see here. So, Pai-chan to me is always a girl with the crownish tiara thing on in red. Although I do have a figurine of her in her blue from the first game with the hat, but it's always something like that. I just see these blocky polygonal characters when I think of Virtua Fighter, and I kind of, I am very happy to see Virtua Fighter Crossroads take it to another direction, into another dimension. I think that's fantastic, but I will always think of these guys like this, and don't really not want to, you know what I mean? Um, I have a Sega Saturn and Virtua Fighter 2. I got the 3-game Sega Saturn pack that you got with the console that had Virtua Fighter 2 and what were the other ones? Virtua Cop and Daytona. I'm pretty sure Daytona 96. Great deal, by the way. And I have never stopped playing Virtua Fighter 2 since then. My Saturn's a little wonky right now, which is too bad because I really could pick up the sticks and play Virtua Fighter 2 any day. If you don't play any of the other titles I've recommended here, I really, really, really recommend you try this one and just see the roots of the 3D fighter and learn how it works, especially if you're kind of intimidated by 3D fighting games. Let's say you're a 2D fighter and you've never tried 3D games before. Virtua Fighter 2 is a great entrance point for you to explore that stuff. So yeah, Virtua Fighter 2 is the #1 game from the fighting genre that I think everyone should try. Let me know how trash my take is in the comments below. Or let me know if you agree. And if not, let me know what you would put at #1. I'd love to hear it. With all of that said and done, I just want to say thank you all very much for your time. I hope you all have a great week. I don't own any of the fighting games seen here or any of the properties tied to these games or anything related to these games in any way, shape, or form or to the parent companies that own these games. That all belongs to other people. All rights belong to them. Have a great week again. I hope you all have a safe one. Let your families know that you love them. I'm going to see you all in the next one.